And good evening. My name is David, and we are here for another session of The Between. This is our fifth session in the current quarterly campaign we're playing here. Again, this is the fifth episode, so if this is the first one you're seeing, I'd suggest going back to the beginning. But as a brief overview, The Between is a game of vampire hunters or monster hunters, I should say. Though last time we did hunt a vampire in Gothic London. This is a PBTA game by Jason Cordova. It builds on the mystery mechanics of Brindlewood Bay. You can find more information out about the game down in the links below if you're interested in checking it out. This game has been organized through the Gauntlet, which is an online role-playing group. We meet up in online games like this one. We have a sort of a calendar we arrange these games through. You can find out more information about that and everything else we do, which includes podcasts, a monthly gaming magazine. Though recently the monthly gaming magazine has mostly been replaced by Stuff for the Between, which is also a Gauntlet production. So you can check all of that stuff out again at the link down below. But with all that said and done, we will quickly go around and do some brief introductions, introduce our characters, just check off kind of what we did last time and any ongoing conditions that you all may have. So I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to switch things up tonight and go in reverse character keeper order just to confuse everyone. Anders, if you'd like to go first.
Okay, I'll try to handle this sudden disruption. I'm playing Ardent Casebury, the vessel. He's a perfectly ordinary English gentleman, except that he consorts with dark forces, tries to predict the future, and these days he also has a pet crow who is his familiar and helps him watch over distant places. His current conditions are lured by the dark and distracted, which kind of feels like me in real life, but let's not get into that. Yeah, and last time, he helped fight a vampire. And he did some ghost hunting from a safe distance.
Awesome, thank you very much. And next, regardless of which way around we go, Sabine, if you'd like to let us know about who you're playing tonight.
I'm very confused though, because Anders started it and now it's me. So I'm Sabine, I use any pronouns. I think I'm a lot funnier than I really am. And I played Dr. John Fenworth, who is a mild-mannered, quite ordinary doctor living and working in Hargrave House, who does not really hold with the belief in supernatural stuff. He thinks that everything can be explained by science. And he has this strange little project where he wants to bring a person to life, basically. But that is, he can explain it so that it sounds a lot less weird, or maybe it doesn't. Anyway, last time we fought a vampire. John acquired a skull for his creation, which was nice. And I think I am not too sure. I know that I wanted to look at some corpses, but I don't know if I did that already or if I didn't. I think I might have, but I cannot remember if I did or not.
Yes, you did, I believe. I think you found some odd signs on the body of a drowned sailor, namely I'll get onto it properly in a second, but yeah, I think you did. I must admit, I my memory was failing me this
Okay.
coming into the game this
Okay.
evening as well, and I didn't get around to just catching up in the last few minutes of last time. But yes, I believe you had
Okay.
investigated the body.
Yeah. I think I did. Now that you're saying it, I can almost. But Fridays are a bit like, oh yeah, I haven't slept a lot during the week, which is my normal mode, but means that it's hard for me to remember what I was doing while I was half asleep. I'm sorry about that.
No, not at all a problem. I find I'm good at remembering things once I start thinking about them, but up until that point, it's like nothing there at all. Brilliant, thank you very much. And yeah, finally, last but not least, David, if you'd like to introduce Trixie.
Yes, hello everyone. I am David, he, him pronouns, and I am playing as Trixie. Trixie, using the American playbook. She is a gunslinging trick shot from out west, and where we last left her, she had the condition's center of attention still, and nauseated from, I think, 2 sessions ago as well. So we're trying to get rid of those and fend off the quickening, which is fast upon us as we move closer to the dusk phase. But as of right now, I am hanging out in Cremorne Gardens after having spoken with my former employer, Thomas, and I plan to do a bit of looking around before I head off to gamble.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so I'll just do a quick recap over sort of the state of investigations and the threats you're currently looking into. We have two active threats currently after resolving the Limehouse Lurker last time. These are the St. James's Street Ghost. So far, I've only got a couple of clues on that one, which are a tightening around somebody's throat that Ardent experienced whilst kind of sensing out the vibes of 18 St. James's Street, where the haunting has taken place. And the fact that all of the clocks were set at the same time, though that time was wrong. And as a reminder for St. James's Street Ghost, there are 2 questions that are available to be resolved. One of them, are available to be answered. One of those is which part of the house is the ghost attached to? And that will give you access to the Old Bones move if you successfully answer that, which is a move that's available. And the other question for the St. James's Street Ghost is, how can we get this ghost to pass on to the next world, which allows you to resolve the threat by performing a quieting ritual. Oh, and I should have said, sorry, that first question is a complexity 4, and the second question is a complexity 6, but you can either, you are able to answer both of those questions if you so wish. But you are not required to answer the first if you don't want to. There is a reward for doing so. The second threat we are dealing with is the creature of Cremorne Gardens. This is a strange fishman, has apparently been terrorizing visitors to Cremorne Gardens, which is a sort of pleasure gardens by the river in Chelsea. Lots of entertainments and sideshows and all that sort of thing in a big, like, formal garden setup. There is a sort of a threshold question for this, an opening question that needs to be answered first, which is the creature real or a hoax? That is complexity 4. Depending on which of those you answer, whether it's real or whether it's a hoax, will determine which of the follow-up questions you will then have to answer. The first one is, if it is real, what does the creature want? Which will allow you to resolve the threat by luring it to you and then destroying it, or convincing it to go back to wherever it came from. And that is complexity 4 as well. And finally, if it is not real, who perpetrates the hoax and why? And you can resolve that threat by laying a trap for the perpetrator and unmasking them. And that is likewise a complexity of 4. And yes, you've discovered 2 clues for that so far, which were a flawless pearl that Dr. Fenworth found inside a drowned sailor, and the drowned sailor also had a scrap of fish fin grasped in their dead hand. So yeah, that is kind of the where the situation is at the minute. Oh yes, and that's a good reminder there as well from David. We currently have you have two recurring side characters that you can go and consult with if you want to, who are Jenny Johnson, the opium den proprietress from Limehouse, and the man in the sun mask, who is a strange figure who wears a sun mask. They grant bonus clues basically if you consult with them on their area of expertise, if you think that might have some bearing on something you're doing. Cool. So that's where we were. Last time we were in the day phase. We had Ardent had performed a ritual to send his new crow familiar off to investigate 18 to St. James's Street, but the crow was driven off by the appearance of a creepy boy, is probably the best way of putting it. As a 10-year-old boy in sort of a sailor suit who put the wind up the crow, startling them off. Dr. Fenworth had gone to the morgue and found the body of a drowned sailor that he believed was connected to the fishman, perhaps supposed fishman, certainly. And Trixie had, yes, indeed, gone to Cremon Gardens and spoken with the proprietor, who is one Mr. Simpson, I believe his name is, Thomas Simpson, that's correct. Yeah, and I think that is about where we were at. So I'm just going to check in with everyone if there is anything else that you want to get up to in this day phase. So I think we had left it off with a bit of a hook with Trixie, who you were looking, I believe, for a gambling game, a game of chance at Cremon Gardens, if I remember correctly. Yeah, awesome. So we'll come back on that in a moment. Dr. Fenworth, was there anything else that you wanted to get up to today?
This was during the day, right? No, I think
right.
I was good. I had spoken to my child, and I had looked at a corpse, and I feel that this calls for a bit of coffee, but I don't need a scene for that.
Sure thing. No worries. And Ardent, was there? Obviously, like I said, your familiar was driven off from the perimeter of St. James's Street. Was there anything else that you wanted to get up to during the day today?
I was considering indulging in my vice, possibly, but let's see. The game mechanical part of that is basically if it can be involved in the vulnerable move, right?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. That could get awkward. Yeah, I don't have any other concrete plans at the moment.
Cool. So yeah, if you do want a witting or an unwitting participant in your vulnerable move. Perhaps Dr. Fenworth might be available, but I'll leave that up to you. But yeah, I think we'll come back in first with Trixie. Sorry. So yeah, I think last we saw, you'd obviously had been having discussion with Thomas Simpson at Cremon Gardens. So just as a kind of vague overview of what is around here, the main features anyway. There's obviously all sorts of little said sideshows and games of chance and all that sort of thing going on, but you have kind of a big pagoda with a dancing platform in it. There's an American bowling saloon, sort of 10-pin bowling set up, a big banqueting hall where people can eat. Obviously, just the gardens themselves to wander around, and there's also a hedge maze. But yeah, you did you have a preference for where you're going to try and seek out a game of chance, or is there somewhere else you want to kind of hit up?
Well, the game of chance was so that I could use my new move. Let me see what that is called here. As cruel as the harlot's curse. It involves indulging in your vice. So if there is some kind of card game place that I could get things going in the gardens, then I would, but otherwise I would be probably venturing out back into kind of the dirty, seedy underbelly of London to do that. Either way, as long as I'm here, I think that I want to... I don't think anyone has poked around the riverfront or the seaside yet, have we?
That's right. I think that's sort of roughly where you were speaking with Mr. Simpson, but you hadn't. I don't think, if memory serves anyway. I don't think you'd done any sort of further investigation, but I think you were sort of there along the riverside. I think that's right. He'd shown you sort of roughly the area where these attacks had been reported.
I think what I'm going to do then is I'm going to kind of sniff around the general coastal area where these attacks have been reported. And I mean sniffing around very literally, like I'm almost kind of tapping into the animal quickening side of me. I haven't taken a move that would give me advantage on a roll for doing that yet, but in the event that I do in the future, I think I'm kind of hinting at it now. So I'm kind of looking for anything along the lines of clues buried in the sand or gravel, scents that I pick up that are unusual or uncharacteristic or especially strong for the area. That kind of thing is kind of what I'm poking around looking for, I think.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's probably, I'd say, either reason or sensitivity.
Right.
Sensitivity, because obviously you kind of have that supernatural ability to send things out.
Right. So my two worst stats. Good. We will go ahead and just roll 2d6, and they're just going to be just a flat 2d6. I think I'm trying to figure out how I select multiple dice here.
Oh, I think you just click on them and then it should kind of highlight them.
Oh, it does. Okay, perfect. We'll just roll 2d6. Hope it's okay. Lucky, that's an 11.
Perfect. Yes, so an 11 is absolutely a hit.
I wonder if I should mask to bump that up to a 12 and pick up a mastermind clue.
The option is there. You do also have access to the Mask of Revelry for this threat if you want to mark that.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll leave that up to you.
I remember one of the wishes that we had last time was to kick up the mastermind's presence in the game. And two things of note. One is that I, as a playbook, am very scant on masks. I have to be very careful about using them. And B, the Mask of Revelry is in play, but I wouldn't want to use that without checking them with everybody else. So do people think this is worth masking for? Do we want to do Revelry?
I think it's worth masking for, because I mean, we can't wait for forever to get it to the mastermind if we're keep hatching on these masks. So go ahead, mask up.
Okay, I'll go ahead and use the Mask of Revelry then.
Awesome. Cool. So much like with the previous one, the Mask of Revelry is going to ask a question of each of you, which is to each hunter must narrate a flashback to the last truly fun day they had. Trixie, I'll ask you to start if that's okay.
Yeah, I think that it's in keeping that the last truly fun day she had was probably spent at this very I almost said carnival, but at these gardens a year ago, back when she was employed. I think that it was the closest thing to working in the sort of traveling sideshow, freak show sort of thing she used to do out west. It's sort of a throwback to that. It reminded her very much of those halcyon days and the friends that she had. And for a moment, it was almost like she wasn't stuck out in London. It was like she was back out west, which is sort of the one place where she's ever felt really at ease and at peace with herself. So a day spent with the friends that she made at the gardens while she was working there.
Awesome, thank you very much. And yeah, Dr. Fenworth, if you would like to also narrate a flashback to the last truly fun day you had.
The last truly fun day I had. Can I think about that for a sec more, please? I have two ideas and I don't know where I want to go with that.
No worries, no worries. Ardent, are you okay to answer?
I'm trying to figure out if Ardent ever had a truly completely fun day. But I mean, being a repressed English upper middle class person, you don't have a lot of fun, I think. But yeah, it's probably going to be. I think he's probably had some day where he was that was fun at the time, but maybe is sad in retrospect. Maybe before he truly got involved with the dark entities, when he had maybe like a small flirtatious romance. We saw him earlier with the dream thing. We saw him with a woman where he was in the early stages of courtship. Maybe they spent a day together at a fair or something, and they had a lovely time. Probably a chaperone hanging around somewhere, but not like really bothering them. Yeah, probably something like that at a fair, like looking at some people doing like musical performances, or buying candy and going on some kind of ride or something, like a horse carriage ride around the area or something.
Awesome, thank you very much. Yeah, and Dr. Fenworth, are you ready to?
I think I have something.
Awesome.
I think the last day that was truly, purely unadulterated fun, without yearning or heartache or anything. That was when John was still in college, having mostly just started studying medicine for a few. It was not fit near the end, but it was not near in the middle, maybe, of the whole thing. We had made friends, and there was this this other young man who was very brilliant. Really, he was a absolutely brilliant medicinal person who studies medicine. Sorry. And the two of them, that was the day when they started early at breakfast, and they had a theory about, I don't know, something the nerves did, and they larked off. They skipped all their classes, and then they went to do some research on each other, and what the nerves in the these reflexes you have in your knee, what that would do, and how you could measure that. And then they went off to the library to find books on this stuff, and read to each other in ancient Greek. And this was not romantic. This was pure the joy of knowledge, joy of discovery. The whole, we have something here. This might actually be a really big discovery. And they were totally in the flow of this whole research thing. And when you would ask John what a really fun day was, that's what he would think about. He would tell you something else, but that's what he would think about.
Lovely, that's awesome. Thank you very much. So as you are sniffing around Trixie, there's the usual river smells. It's obviously the smell of mud and that kind of fishy smell, but it's a bit further up the river here, so it's not quite as salty as it is further down. But it's heavy river scents. But what draws your attention is there's a lingering scent, and it's not like it's not overpowering, but it's very out of place here. There is a scent of rubber that still kind of lingers down around the sort of the river's edge, down along the shoreline, and kind of around a little bit as well. But it's, as I said, not overpowering, not super strong, but it's a very, very distinct scent of rubber, and it definitely doesn't belong here. There's nothing obvious that it should be coming from.
Got it.
And as you are kind of sniffing around for this, there will be a voice will call out from sort of up on the embankment sort of thing, and say, "I say, young lady, have you misplaced something? You seem most distracted."
I turn, and is there anybody there?
Yes, there is a young man, has long flowing golden hair, quite well dressed, obviously a man of wealth, though not currently wearing overly formal clothes, sort of more one of those light coloured kind of day suit sort of thing, and he is stood at an easel, and there are several people painting around here. He will smile and just give a little wave down to you.
Oh, not at all. I was merely out on an evening constitutional, Might I have a look at the painting you're drawing?
Oh, by all means, do come up.
Of course, and I sort of jog my way up there with a little bit more speed and feralness than maybe a lady of my class ought to. And we'll take a look at what he's painting.
Yeah, so it's a painting of the river, as you'd expect from his vantage point. Though again, it's done in quite an impressionistic style. It's quite, it's not just a sort of photorealistic painting, and it's drawn the river a lot more turbulent than it really is. There's a sense of like the river's quite violent, almost as if there's something lurking underneath it. He'll say, I do rather enjoy coming down here to paint. So many other like-minded individuals around. Name's Bellassize, by the way, Lucian Bellassize. Pleasure to meet you, madam.
Of course, Lucian, and I offer him my hand.
He will bend down and kiss it delicately before standing up again.
Beatrice, charmed to meet you. A fascinating rendering you've taken of the river. Water's a bit stirred up.
Yes. I think for me the important thing about painting is capturing the true spirit of something, and though wide and imposing though the Thames is, I feel there is more life to it than we see simply on the surface. But, and he'll kind of wave a hand dismissively, that is merely my my prattling. If these works interest you, we're hosting a little exhibition down here on Cheyne Walk in a couple of nights' time. If you would like to come along, there'll be all sorts of art on display, much of which I'm sure will put my simple daubings to shame.
Why, it would be a pleasure. As a matter of fact, I have a number of friends who are themselves something of art connoisseurs who would be delighted to see anything of such imagination.
Lovely. Well, it would be a delight to see you. He'll kind of reach down to a little like portfolio type thing and pull out it's probably a bit fancier than a flyer, but sort of a little invitation with an address on this street on it, and a date and time that he'll pass over to you.
I'll take down the information and pocket the little slip of paper. Well, Lucian, it was a pleasure meeting you, and perhaps I will see you in a couple of nights' time.
I certainly hope so. It would be a pleasure to see you again.
I nod and bow and give him a smile that is not altogether warm, but I will take my leave of him at this time, making as much of a mental note as to what this guy looks like and what the sound of his voice is like, and kind of trying to get a sense as to, if I ever see him again, how to recognize him.
Yeah, sure thing. What you do notice as you're kind of taking him in is on his he's wearing like a signet ring that is marked with it's a golden signet ring with the head of a falcon worked into it.
Got it. All right, I think I'm good.
Cool. And I've added that the clue in, which is this art exhibition.
Does this guy? I mean, his name is Lucian Bellassize.
Bellassize, yeah, that's right.
Bellassize, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Do we? I noticed that there's a tab for servants of the mastermind, but then again, for all I know, this guy could not be a servant of the mastermind, or he could be the mastermind in disguise. Or oh no, he is the fourth Earl of Fauconberg.
Yes, he is. That's right. He is
Oh,
the
it
he
is
is the
him.
mastermind.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Excellent. Okay, very cool. Looking forward to meeting him again then, or maybe I'm not. But anyway, I'm good to go.
Awesome. Perfect. So yeah, I'm going to hop back over to Ardent. Ardent and potentially Dr. Fenworth. Were you wanting to go ahead with the vulnerable scene between the two of you?
Yeah, I think that would be interesting and also mechanically useful, since I have a couple of conditions.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. So I'll see how you want to frame this up, and obviously Dr. Fenworth as well. How you think this scene might come about. I'm presuming it will be back at Hargrave House, but obviously feel free to frame it however you wish.
Yeah, absolutely. Back at Hargrave House. I think either Dr. Fenworth interrupts Ardent's session, shall we say, or they bump into each other somewhere else in the house just after. I'm not sure what's more interesting.
I think it would be more interesting if I bumped into you doing the thing. Well, I think John is not someone who is very perceptive to the realm of the dark spiritual entities, and might also be quite well bred enough to ignore any strange sort of eccentricities.
Well, the way I picture this, it's quite blatantly supernatural, probably. Like Ardent is basically hovering in the middle of the room, enveloped by shadows, and I mean his vice is sex with dark entities.
Yeah. I saw
but
that.
this is like more like a very intense, very slow sort of thing, rather than, you know,
furious humping is not involved. I hear. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think he knocks, and when he hears a sound that seems like agreement, he will enter, of course, and then see you hovering about. And well, as I said, he's far too well bred to remark upon this. If you are hovering in midair, you will have a perfectly good reason for it, I imagine. So he won't say a thing. Instead, he will ask you, what will he ask you about? Yes, I think he will ask you about the investigation you were doing with the Beale house. And also he will report that he found a pearl. Right, that's what he will do. He will report to you that he found a pearl inside a sailor. And he was quite intrigued by it. I'm not sure if this has anything to do with the fish person, but there was also some sort of fin on the sailor's hand, and I imagine that might have some. Are you quite well, Mr. Caseberry?
Yeah, I think at first Ardent doesn't notice that you're there at all. He's like hovering. I imagine he's naked in the air, but he's mostly enveloped by the shadows. But I think they are disturbed by your entrance and when you start to talk and that sort of thing. So they leave, and he sort of slumps to the floor, and then after a while, and he's like in a dazed because they suddenly left. And after a while, he realizes that there's someone else there and that they're talking, and he's sort of, the way you remember back when you've heard things, but you haven't consciously heard them. He recalls some of the of what you said, and he, of course, also tries to be very very stiff upper lip about the whole thing, and he goes to get I imagine he has a smoking jacket or something that would cover him up reasonably well and reasonably fast. So he'll go to put that on and pretend, obviously, that nothing happened. And oh, yes, I see. A fin and a pearl inside a sailor. That's most curious. Yes, very strange.
Yes, indeed. They usually don't grow in people, but you never know.
Yeah, so I understand. Otherwise, I think yes.
I've read a report. I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you, but this is very interesting. I read a report about a young girl in India who was discovered that a pearl had grown in her skull, and she died of it, of course, terribly, because they don't belong in your brain. But apparently the human body is quite capable of creating this sort of substance that forms a pearl. Huh.
Most curious.
Indeed. Someone told me.
I imagine it's to our species' advantage that this phenomenon is not well understood, or else I fear growing pearls in people would be quite an industry.
Indeed. What an interesting thought. I did not think of that, because I imagine it would be quite painful to grow pearls where they do not belong. They are very hard. And
yes.
Yeah. Still, I was told by a doctor, or someone who called himself a doctor, I am not entirely sure he was one, that this girl had a fly or a beetle crawl up her nose into her brain, which is really unlikely. I have to say, it's really a very unlikely story. There is a lot of protection around your brain. You cannot have a fly in your ear and then it goes into your brain. It's not possible anatomically. But still, this is the story, and people have anatomy is a very open field.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, curious. I believe you asked about my my own investigations. I am reasonably convinced that there is some form of haunting on the premises at St. James Street, but I need to discover more details before I can make a determination about the location of the spirit within the house. It is usually the case that this sort of spirit will attach itself to a certain object or a certain room, or sometimes a certain person, which can be very unfortunate.
And you do truly believe that these spirits are the remnants of living souls?
It's possible. It could be some sort of entity from another realm, perhaps, that travels over when someone here dies, but and takes on, perhaps subconsciously, the appearance and memories of the departed person.
Well, I do not hold much with other realms, to be honest, but I believe, people are mostly formed by electrical impulses in the brain, and if the brain dies, maybe these impulses might still remain and thus express themselves.
That is quite possibly the material manifestation of the spirit, the soul, or whatever you want to call it. But I believe that the material is secondary and is a product of the spirit rather than the other way around.
Well, we will have to disagree on this, Mr. Casebury. I'm very much a scientist who believes mostly in the material. Because the immaterial, it is so hard to grasp at the immaterial. It's very hard to explain things in the immaterial, but the material is observable.
Well, I have found that with the correct training and experience, then observing the immaterial is also quite possible.
Well, then we should say you will observe the immaterial and I will confine myself to the material, which I feel I'm far more qualified for.
That sounds like an excellent division of labor in our continued investigations.
Very good, Mr. Casebury. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
I hope, yeah, I think we'll cut it there.
And I will leave, and you will not know what I think about your strange behavior.
Awesome. Yeah. So, as per the move, so both of you get the opportunity to clear a condition. Though I don't think you currently have one. We do not currently have one that can be cleared. I don't believe.
I cannot clear my condition. You still love me, Mr. Casebury.
And the and on top of that, Ardent, you gain the option to either invite Dr. Fenworth to ask you a question about your past, or to discover a clue related to any of the threats that you wish.
This is this is a bit weird. I feel it's difficult to weigh the mechanically beneficial option versus the interesting one. I mean, finding clues is also interesting, but
you should always use the interesting one because that's what we play for.
Yeah, true.
And also learning about the characters is the goal of the whole game. Figuring them out who they are.
Yeah, ask me about my past.
Oh yes, well, in the door. But by the way, the first time you ever experienced the immaterial realm, what was that like, Mr. Casebury?
Oh, I remember it very well. I was a very young boy, 5 or 6, and I wanted my mother to read to me, but she was busy in the kitchen, and I took one of the books she used to read to me, and sat where we used to sit on the rocking chair, but I couldn't read the book for myself. I could recognize a few letters here and there, and a few words, but then I felt a presence, and I heard a whisper, and there was someone else there who read the stories for me, read the stories to me. and later, of course, they manifested more fully, one could say, but at that moment they were just a voice.
Fascinating.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think what we'll do is we'll hop over to Trixie for we'll get you into a card game, and then we'll probably end the day phase after that, I think, and then after the break we'll move on to dusk. Trixie, I think like I said, you used to work here. You know that the best place to get a game, particularly a game of Faro played, is in the American Bowling Saloon. There are some actual Americans hired to work there, and you can usually get a game together.
Certainly. So, I mean, that being the case, I'll begin playing a hand or 7 of Faro with these people or these patrons of the bowling saloon. And really what I'm just trying to do is activate this new move I have to see if I can clear some conditions and maybe get some other stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, so what we'll do first is we'll just do a very quick paint the scene for this location, as it's our first time here, and then we'll see how your role goes. Obviously, if you want to make your role in the meantime, that's cool. But yeah, the question we'll be asking here is, this place embraces Americana and the idea of the Wild West, but to an American it would all seem a little off. How do we know that? So yeah, as I said, it's kind of obviously mostly what's going on here is bowling, and there are people setting up pins. There's a barrel piano playing, some kind of saloon music, and all that sort of thing. But yeah, how do we know that this is all just a bit off in its attempt to emulate the Wild West? And I will start with you, if that's okay, Trixie.
I'm trying to think here. I wonder if there might be how about this? It's got a lot of sort of like Native American iconography. I don't want to say artifacts necessarily, but items and kind of knickknacks of a Native American nature, but none of them are from the Great Plains region. They're all from like the southeastern United States, or maybe even kind of like the up along the northern seaboard or something along those lines, but they're not authentic and they're not even geographically accurate. Like, these are not the people I was hanging out with back when I was out on the Great Plains of Kansas and Colorado.
Yeah, awesome. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, Dr. Fenworth, what's another thing that we see that's an attempt at Americana that just doesn't quite work?
I'm afraid it's the accent, because they try, they really try, but they sound like British people from various places. And I think if you have an ear for it, in London, you might even hear what part of the city a person is from, right? Even, and with some of the stronger accents, even when they try to do the American thing, you can still hear that they're from the north instead of the south. So yeah, well, but they try. And if they talk to you, Trixie, they will try even harder.
Awesome, thank you. Ardent, how about yourself? What's another thing we see that just doesn't quite work?
Trying to Yeah, I think there are like maybe like wanted posters of various famous outlaws, but like the names are misspelled and the like the years are wrong. Like yeah, this one was issued 5 years after they died or something, and the and that sort of thing. It's fairly accurate, but they to someone who knows, they're clearly just made up. And actually, maybe it's not even real famous criminals. It's more like made up names. I'm not sure if that's quite what we're looking for, but
Oh no, that's cool. Thank you. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, in amidst all of that, these sort of touristy trappings, Trixie, if you would like to make your roll. So that is a roll with vitality, I believe.
Yes, it is. So we're rolling in a +1. Oh, that's a 4.
Ooh. Okay. So I think what will happen is you're kind of partway through a game. You're on a bit of a losing streak for a change, when a tall, burly looking man will come up behind you and lay a hand on your shoulder, and he'll say, well, Trixie, I wasn't expecting to see you here back again. Don't you owe me some money? And as you look around, you recognize the man. His name is Armstrong. He is a policeman, though currently off duty, but he essentially works security at Cremon Gardens as a side job. And I think we will take a break there. Obviously, if you do wish to spend a mask when we get back, Trixie, to avoid this, you can do so. Otherwise, we'll pick things up from there. But yeah, we'll see if we come back in about just call it 22. We'll pick things back up again there.
Sounds good.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah. Dr. Fenworth, Ardent, were there any last little things you wanted to get done before the dusk phase?
I don't think so. I mean, I obviously want to go and look at stuff, but not right now.
Yeah, no worries, not a problem. And how about yourself, Ardent?
Yeah, I think after his conversation with Dr. Fenworth, he throws himself into reading up on hauntings and that sort of thing. So he digs out his books and starts reading up. But I don't think that's a game mechanical thing. It's just setting up for the future.
I'm going to say that sounds like a if you'd like to make an information move there with reason, probably.
Yeah,
Because,
sure.
you know, doing some research sounds like a perfectly, reasonable thing to be doing. So, yeah,
Cool,
absolutely.
Cool. So that's reason, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
I will try to use my physical dice since, whoops. Since the dice roller hates me. Let's see. This. So that's 7 with my +1.
Cool. So on 7, you will get some information. So what you will find actually is you find a lot of very general information of, well, in fact, you find a lot of specific information. You know, Hargrave House's libraries are quite good when it comes to supernatural business. So you will find quite a lot of information about hauntings, though nothing that like relates sort of specifically to your investigation. What does happen though is, as you're kind of in the library at Hargrave House, leafing through various tomes there, a book keeps falling off the shelf in there, and every time you kind of put it back up, it falls off again. It's a bit of an odd book actually to even be here in the in Hargrave House's library anyway. It's just a kind of novel, a sort of fairly cheap, tawdry sort of novel about a woman who murders her husband. And yeah, it just keeps falling off the shelf every time you put it back up. How relevant that is to anything, you don't know, but it's certainly something that happens.
Yeah, I think the first few times Ardent, it doesn't quite register. I mean, the first time it's odd that the book falls off the shelf, he puts it back up. And then when it keeps happening, I think he sort of tunes it out, and it's just, oh, put the book up while he's looking at other things. But after a while, I think it registers as something that maybe he should take notice of, and he starts flipping through it and try to get a sense of what it is. And I guess we just note that as a clue, or
that's right. I've just written that in on the clue sheet.
Yeah, cool, cool.
Awesome. Cool. So, yeah.
Just one thing.
Oh, go for it.
I have thought what I mean, I don't know if that's a role or not, but I want to spend my afternoon strolling through the streets of London. Most likely not the fairgrounds, but at the Kensington Gardens maybe, or somewhere where the upper class people move out. And I want to just look about if there's someone, you know, who might have it's just purely academic at this point, purely academic interest in people's bodies, the way they look, and just to figure out what am I looking for? Well, how do I imagine this child to be? Because it doesn't need to be precisely the body shape, it needs to echo the ideal. more than the reality. The reality was a disappointment, but it needs to echo the ideal. That's what I want to do.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think probably, yeah, you're right. Probably at this moment, I think that probably doesn't come up to a role in specific, but you can certainly spend an
I mean, I could do a day move. I could do a day move just to see what I find. If I find something.
Yeah, sure. No, that sounds good. Yeah, no, then I'm happy to go with that. So what I think it will probably be, I'd say probably composure.
Maybe sensitivity.
Yeah, sensitivity could work.
Because reason clearly is not what I'm aiming for. I'm not aiming for reason. I'm aiming for spirit, the ineffable.
Exactly. If you were looking for someone, if you were looking for somebody with a very specific like length of leg, then yes, that would definitely be reason. But yeah, cool. Yeah, go for it. What are you afraid will happen if this goes badly?
I think I might attract attention. That I'm staring at people. That would be that I would be embarrassed. That is my fear.
Cool. Yeah, so if you would like to make that roll.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to be embarrassed. I rolled a 5.
Yeah. And I think that is I think we'll maybe go with the condition humiliated, as I think a uniformed police officer comes up to you and says, excuse me, sir, not to cast any aspersions, of course, but we've had a few of the young ladies walking past here who have remarked that your attentions seem a little untoward. Now, of course, I wouldn't want to say a word against you, sir, but perhaps you might find somewhere else to go and have a walk.
Well, that is unfortunate. I was in thought. These young ladies are all altogether unsatisfactory anyway. I look him up and down. And I ask you, say, you weigh about, and I say blast stone, because I have no idea what would the right number of stone be, but I think John would, so you're about this many stone, right? Yes, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Yeah, and I move off, and I feel, of course, terribly humiliated because young ladies, I wasn't even looking at them.
Perfect. Awesome, thank you. And yeah, so we'll go back over to Trixie. Yeah, as I say, you're sat at the faro table when when Armstrong, this off-duty police officer, puts his hand on your shoulder. What do you do?
Oh, of course, Constable Armstrong. Oh my goodness, it has been for certainly months since we've met. I trust you've been doing well for yourself. Beautiful day at the gardens. Happy to be here. How are you?
Cut it, Trixie. What's aside from the obvious, he's going to look down at the table. What brings you back around here again?
Look, it's a sort of a private sort of venture that I've involved myself with. Nothing you'd be fascinated by. But speaking of private ventures, I don't want you to gain the false impression that I have in any way been attempting to escape the repayment that I owe you. As a matter of fact, I do have in my possession, not money, no, but even better, I do have a land deed, a large piece of property out west, North Dakota, lovely spot. I'm quietly thinking to myself, it's not. Lovely spot. And this is a place that it will appreciate in value. Even if you don't move out there yourself, I guarantee any buyer will pay top dollar for this. This will more than pay any amount of interest that I have. I certainly owe you. Might I take down your information and we'll write up a contract and get that over to you.
Excellent. Yeah, I think we'll go for the day move here with presents. What are you afraid will happen if this goes badly?
I'm afraid that there's going to be a sizable contingent of police officers chasing me down for the duration of the game, or at least until I pay this guy off.
Sure thing. That sounds good. So yeah, if you would like to make that roll.
And I am actually using the Bloodstains North Dakota land deed in my personal quarters here.
Perfect. So yeah, that will give you advantage on the roll.
All right. So presence is a +1, so we're rolling 3d6, top 2 at a +1. That is a 9 total.
9. Okay. So I think he will say, well, I'm sure this should about cover it. He kind of he'll sort of nod and say, but my throat's a little dry. I may go and avail myself of the refreshments. And he will basically scoop what little remains of your steak off of the table as well, and say, "See you around, Trixie. Try and stay out of trouble."
And you have a fine day as well. And I'll kind of awkwardly get up from the table, and I imagine like there's a sizable number of people kind of staring at me. I'm this woman with an American accent who's getting more or less shaken down by a cop. Well, good day to you all, I say with a tip of my cowboy hat. And this is me very much out of my element with, I think, a large number of people kind of staring embarrassedly at me as I saunter off, still nauseated from 2 nights ago.
Indeed. That's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, and I think with that we will bring the day phase to a close and move into our evening, or sorry, dusk phase, I should say. Cool. So, as ever, we will start off by resolving our moves. So we will. Trixie, I know you have the quickening move obviously to do, so we'll roll that one. Does anyone else have a move that activates in a dusk phase? I don't think that's the case, but do correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, no, it looks like it. So yeah, Trixie, if you would like to roll for the quickening, as ever, I think you get to choose between. Is it vitality and sensitivity, or composure?
It's composure or sensitivity. So we'll roll with composure. So this is just going to be a 2d6 +1. Hope it doesn't go bad. That is a 10. Just barely got there.
Nice. So on the 10+, your body is stronger and faster, and you manage to keep the quickening in check. You roll with advantage when taking actions that use vitality until the next dawn phase. So yeah, how does your sort of increased vigor come across Trixie this evening?
I think that it is primarily sharpened senses and quickened reflexes. So I think that we might see a shot of Trixie bounding into Hargrave House for the evening, throwing the door open, and very quickly, without looking, kind of shutting it behind her with the back of her foot. And she goes to maybe ascend the stairs, and the rug kind of slips out from under her, but she very nimbly and quickly catches herself, maybe with one hand on the third step up, and then proceeds to sort of scramble up the stairs remarkably quickly. Only after she enters her room and looks outside at the steaming night air that's kind of passing through an open window does she take a deep breath and think, this is what it was like to be back home. And there's this sort of quickened pulse through her and this kind of vigor about her. And she thinks to herself, this is going to be a very good night.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Next, we have a paint the scene question to answer. I'm going to, because we've seen it a bit today, I am going to go for the library, which is about halfway down, just under the music room that we did the other week. Of all the rooms in Hargrave House, none feel more unstuck than this one. As you enter the library, what do you see or experience that feels a little off? And I'm going to start with you, I think this time, Ardent, if that's okay.
Yeah, sorry, where...
Sorry, the questions are on the very left hand side of the Hunter tab. And I said the library is
right.
about
I thought we
down.
were in the unseen. That's why I was.
No, that's okay. Sorry, yeah, no, that's fine. So yeah, as I said, the library is, of all the rooms in Hargrave House, none feel more unstuck than this one. As you enter the library, what do you see or experience that feels a little off?
A little off in the library. I think the library, it's not one of these like big rooms with bookshelves all around the walls. It's a series of quite small rooms with bookshelves, and I think it's very easy to get lost in there. You think you're going from one room to the other, but it appears, but then where you end up is somewhere you didn't expect. Maybe it's not quite, the doors aren't quite, or the rooms aren't quite square, so the doors aren't at right angles, that sort of thing. So it's unclear if it's just the architecture that's confusing, or if there's something actually spooky going on. But it's easy to get lost in the small rooms.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And next, Dr. Fenworth, what's another thing about the library that just feels a little off?
Well, you know that feeling when you miss a step on a stair, either because you expect the stair to be there and then there's only empty air, or if you didn't expect the stair to be there and there's only empty air, or if you did expect the stair to be there and you're still on a flat ground. So it's that kind of vertigo that comes over you at odd times and odd places. It's not always the same, but it tends to be in the same spots. It's not always when you go there you have it, but comes it is more, you have that more often in certain places and certain conjunctions. Dr. Fenworth has theorized that it has to do something with the way sound travels in the library, because sometimes sound can make a loud or a weird sound can make you miss a step. So that's his theory anyway.
Awesome, thank you very much. And Trixie, what's another detail we see that just feels a little bit off in the library?
She's never mentioned it to anyone, but the rest of the house smells musty and dusty, and there's this kind of scent of mildew and such about everything. It's such an old sort of Gothic manner of sorts, but for whatever reason, all the books in this library smell just brand new to her. They could be decades old, weathered pages and falling apart at the seams, but they all smell freshly bound, and she cannot seem to figure out why.
Awesome, that's great, thank you. So we will, next step is for us to determine what we want to do, what we want to get up to this evening. So I will start with you again, Trixie, if that's okay. So yeah, what do you think you want to get up to this evening?
This evening, I think I'd like to certainly step inside Dr. Fenworth's infirmary. I've been half sick for 2 days now and need to get that taken care of. And then either this evening or sometime later tonight, I might pay Jenny a visit, or maybe the Man of the Sun Mask if I can, but otherwise do a bit of clue hunting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's cool. Thank you. And Dr. Fenworth, what about yourself?
Well, obviously I'm here if anybody needs my medical expertise. Also, Ardent, have you spoken to the masters of Beale House yet? I just can't remember if you've done that. If you talked to the Beales themselves.
I don't believe so, from what I can remember. I think Ardent had had a brief conversation with Mrs. Beale, but more just about getting access to the house than questioning. That's what I remember anyway.
I mean, as fascinating as a fish creature might be, we had this discussion about ghosts, and I think I will put together maybe some sort. I will go there and try to convince them to let me measure their electrical currents, see if I can catch a glimpse of that ghost.
Sure thing. Perfect. Thank you. And yeah, Ardent, how about yourself? What do you think you want to get up to this evening?
I think Ardent is going to go out into the night. He was interrupted by Dr. Fenworth, but he's been quite energized. He's thrown himself into research. I think he wants to take in some night air, but he'll probably find himself at St. James Street, staring at the house and trying to figure out what to do about that.
Sure thing. That sounds good.
So, I'm perfectly happy to invite you to come with me, and if I see you loitering about there.
yeah, sure.
Cool. No, that's great. Awesome. So yeah, I think we will kick things off with just a quick scene with Trixie and Dr. Fenworth in the infirmary. Although first, because I almost forgot, we will have our on the scene for this evening. So for the unseen this evening, I'm actually going to choose the very first one in the unseen tab. This is A Night at the Grand Guignol, the Baker's Son. So every class of people in London is represented in the audience at the Theatre Grand Guignol. They have come to watch the newest production, The Baker's Son, a story filled with romance, heartbreak, and bucketfuls of blood. So for those who aren't familiar, the Grand Guignol was a theatre that they did put on sort of big melodramatic productions. The productions themselves were very melodramatic, and they were particularly well known for their use of what were for the day quite cutting edge special effects, especially ones that were gory, decapitations and blood and the like. So that's kind of what's going on here. The first question will be for all of you. It's a paint the scene question. The second question will go to Anders. The third will go to David, and the fourth to Sabine. We'll go through those as they come up, but we will start off with our paint the scene question. So, as the limelights pop to life and the crimson curtain is raised, what do we see as our eyes scan the stage that tells us this is the story of a humble baker's son? And I will start with Sabine this time, if that's okay.
Yeah, me, cool. So what we'll see is obviously we'll see the oven. It's pretty much center of the stage. You can almost tell that this oven will see some action yet, but because it's a large prop. But right now it is lit in a mostly gentle color. There is an older man covered in wheat. He's quite white. And he has his hands in his hips, and he yells for his son.
Awesome, thank you. David, I'll ask you next. What's another thing that tells us that this is a story of a humble baker's son?
That's a good question. I was going to say that he was covered in flour, but I think we have that. I think that he I think I'm going to emphasize the humble part, and maybe they have a scene or something like that at the very beginning where it's very clear that they don't have a great deal of money. Like, this is a small father-son operation, and this is not, the grandest bakery in London. They're really kind of falling on very hard times. And so maybe the whole thing is very sparse, and the oven is very central, and that's sort of where everything is invested, but everything else is a bit dirty. All the bags are scarce and mostly empty, and they're always kind of strutting about looking for money. Maybe that's kind of the bit that emphasizes the humble piece.
Awesome, thank you very much. And Anders, what's another detail we see that lets us know this is the story of a humble baker's son?
I think there is a somewhat comical introduction of this main character, where this domineering father is telling him, go do this, go do that, go do the other thing. It's clear that they are the only people working in the bakery, so he has to sweep the floors and set the dough and get a bag of flour, that sort of thing. So he's the one doing all the chores.
Awesome, thank you very much. Cool. So we'll start with the infirmary. In fact, I think that this
comes with a. Sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think I was about to say something that you were, which is, I was going to say, I think this is the first time we've seen the infirmary on screen yet, and there is a paint the scene question associated with it. So once again, I'll be asking each of you, and I will start with Dr. Fenworth again on this one, as it's your space. But what do we see that is evidence of how meticulously clean and organized this space is? Dr. Fenworth, starting with you.
Well, you don't see much evidence of lots of clutter. There are a lot of cupboards, and if you open them, you would see tiny little compartments where you could put stuff in, and they're all very tiny, very tightly labeled. But outside of that, those cupboards, when they're closed, it looks remarkably uncluttered, almost newish.
Brilliant, thank you. And Ardent, what's another detail that we see in here that shows this is meticulously clean and organized?
I think there are like charts on the walls, like anatomical charts, that sort of thing. And there, I think there's like they're on I don't know what you call it, like sliders. You have them like hanging, and you can slide them so you can shift which ones are visible. But they're organized like from the outside in of the body. So you have the one that's hanging out front is like a fully with the skin, and then you have like the muscle and that sort of thing.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. And Trixie, what's another detail we see that shows how meticulously clean and organized the infirmary is?
The majority of one wall is taken up by shelves and racks where every conceivable chemical, medication, compounding material, you name it, is all alphabetized and then subdivided into potency, and then sort of additionally subdivided by the manner of suspension, whether it's a tablet, whether it's a liquid, etc. And anyway, you just have this extreme, like almost Dewey Decimal System level of specificity with which the various medications and chemicals are organized.
Cool, thank you. So with that, if we want to get into the vulnerable move. So obviously one of you will have to be indulging in your vice whilst this scene goes, but other than that, we'll just get to see you vulnerable with one another and see how things go from there.
Oh, I can be indulging my vice because this is another night with not a lot of sleep, so indulging in coffee seems to be quite the thing to do. You're up for that, Trixie.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll have a bit of Irish whiskey in mine, but otherwise that sounds good.
Let me look at you first before you partake of the Irish whiskey in this fine brew here. Maybe we need another coffee to go with the Irish whiskey. I mean,
yeah, that's the only thing that
this blend might not be very beneficial. There might be one that works better. Just let me look at you, please. Does that hurt? I poke you somewhere.
Not at all, I say, although it's clear that it does. You know, where I come from, the only doctor I ever needed was a bottle of whiskey and a needle and thread. What do you think that you're gonna do to patch me up at this juncture? I say, coughing and trying not to throw up.
Well, Miss Foley, your body, like every human body, has its own specificities. It has its demands. And as you grow older, and if you're young, you mostly ignore these demands. I understand that. But as you grow older, your body's demands get louder and louder. And if you want to head that off at least a little, I would advise you to at least indulge what your body wants of you for a bit. I know mind over body and everything. That is a very good thing. But there's a point when your body will shut down, that your mind will not be free to occupy itself with the finer things, if you understand my meaning. So please let me look at you. Let me take a sample of your blood. Let me see what kind of, what blend of coffee might help with your ailments instead of worsening them, which this combination, what you're doing now, will certainly will.
Very well. You're the educated one between the two of us. And I think that if you ever do end up taking a pulse off of me, I think because of that 10 plus on the quickening, I think you'll find that my pulse is unusually fast and strong to the extent that that ain't normal. And I think there's kind of a hint there that there's something more to this Trixie character than meets the eye.
Very interesting. You have a very strong pulse, but you are not flushed, nor are you running a fever. That is unusual, but not to worry. It might not be a sickness or even something that is wrong with you. It might just be the way your body works. I just have to learn it. I'm sorry. And what you will notice is that while John takes measurements and stuff, he's very professional. He does not seem to be interested in any kind of romantic endeavor whatsoever. So, no, he will then take your pulse and look at your blood and tell you if you move quickly, if you look up, does it get worse? Ask lots of questions about why you are sick. And then he will prescribe, obviously, the right blend of coffee, right? Not this one. This one is nice if you want to stay awake, but you seem to be alert and awake. You're fine in that regard, Miss Farley. What you need is something to settle your stomach. And for that, you need this gentlest of coffee, and you will only get that from Colombia.
Never had Colombian before.
You will now.
Well, I'll try anything once. Say, Fenworth, I wanted to ask you. I was prowling around the gardens earlier today. Came across kind of a strange sort of guy. Called himself Belicise or something to that effect. I don't know if that name rings any kind of bell with you, but said he had some kind of art exhibit he had going on tomorrow night. Wondered if you might want to get you, me, and maybe Caseberry together and go look at this thing.
Oh, he's the fourth Fauconberg, isn't he? I wanted to look up how I was related to him, but I haven't found the time yet. Anyway, yes, I've met him. He's a very, very engaging gentleman.
Something strange about him. Can't put my finger on it. He was painting some kind of rendering of the river, but the water wasn't right. It had some kind of boiling whiteness to it. Reminded me of the old Cascade Rapids back when I was out in north part of Oregon. Beautiful part of the country, also dangerous. And I gotta say, I get the same kind of impression off of this guy too. Beautiful and dangerous.
Yes, I can see where that might come from. He is very confident. That is certain.
Anything I should be afraid of?
I have not made a study of him yet. I only can give you the impression that I had of him when I met him once. I might ask around though, if you're interested. I know a few peers. Well, not to brag, but I have some cousins who are.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. Doesn't surprise me the two of you are related. And I think this is just kind of a subtle reference to the fact that you have the most beloved condition. And this guy is also kind of has the beautiful and dangerous, like there's the quality between the two of you.
I really should figure out how we are related. I mean, every peer in England is sort of related. That is probably no secret, but well, might still be interesting.
Certainly. It's funny. Back out west, no one was related. No one knew each other. No one had any family except the ones we picked. And now that I'm back out here in London, seems everyone's someone's cousin.
This is an old country, Miss Farley. Everybody has a cousin. Everybody has been everywhere. If you talk about the rapids in northern Oregon, this seems like such a large country that you have there. Well, the most exotic thing in England I ever saw was the Fens Yorkshire, which is not that exotic at all.
You should come out west sometime, you know, when you have a bit of downtime. I think you'd find it to be, well, right pretty in a way that words can't quite capture.
I think I might, yes. Thanks for the inspiration, Miss Farley. I think I might do that.
Naturally, and I will take a sip of my coffee and Colombian, but that's all I'll say.
Nice.
And John is imagining himself with Adam ambling about whatever he thinks these rapids look like.
So you may both remove a condition if appropriate, and because you are in the infirmary, you may remove an additional physical condition. So feel free to update your conditions as appropriate there. And Dr. Fenworth, you will, as ever, have the opportunity to either discover a clue or invite Trixie to ask a question about your past.
Come on, I love these questions about my past. You tell me if I overdo it on that, and then I will be nice and ask for a clue. But I want you to ask me questions about my character all day.
So I think I'm looking at the masks you have because I don't want to ask something that's going to get stuck in a flashback later on anyway. But I think I'll kind of take a sip off of this Colombian stuff, and I'm still developing a taste for it. Fenworth, this is a weird line of work you work in. How'd you get into medicine anyway?
Oh, well, how did I get into medicine? Was not something that was suggested to me when I was a young man, but I have read when I was very young and impressionable a German fairy tale. It was an artificial fairy tale. It was about I cannot even retell it, but it was about a young man who was a doctor. And he made a fatal mistake and amputating a young woman's hand and he nearly was beheaded, and it was very dramatic. But I always so much identified with this young Greek doctor. That was who I wanted to be. I cannot explain to you what the attraction was, but I always saw myself as a physician. And as I grew up, I read up on medical texts, and there are so many questions that are unanswered. The human body is such a mystery, how it works and why, and I wanted to know. So that started with the fairy tale and then became a full-blown, almost an obsession. Well,
sounds a little bit like wanderlust. Now that's something I can identify with.
Maybe it is not so different. Yes.
Awesome. And before we take our last break, I'm just going to check in with Anders if we can do our I suppose technically our second unseen question. If Anders, if you can describe Act 1, in which the baker's son, a young man named Daniel, falls in love with a woman, Dahlia, who he cannot have.
Yeah, I think we see Daniel and his father working in the bakery, and we have this big oven in the center of the the scenery of the stage or the back, and off to one side, let's say stage right, is like the shop part of the bakery, where the customers come in and buy bread. And usually it's Daniel's father who handles the customers. He doesn't trust Daniel to do that yet. But at one point his father is busy, and there's this woman comes in, and she's clearly higher class than they are. Not like an aristocrat or anything, but you know, lower upper middle class, that sort of thing. And he just falls in love with her at first sight, and she's kind of friendly, you know, asking if he'll be there when she comes back next week, and he makes sure that his father is busy at the same time on the next week, so that he can talk to her again, that sort of thing.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Yeah, and we'll just take our last break there. We'll come back in about 5 minutes' time and pick things up as further in the night. Cool. So I think where we will cut to first of all is 18 St. James's Street. As Dr. Fenworth and Mr. Caseberry turn up. You know, there are gas lights lit on the streets. As I said, a fairly it's a nice area to live in. It's not a super wealthy area, but it's you know, it has some gas lights on the streets. It's quiet on the street. You probably pass like a patrolling bobby at some point, and there may be the odd person going to and fro, but you know, it's a quiet residential street you get there. Are you both planning to just sort of go up to the front door and knock kind of thing?
Ardent didn't really have a plan. He was just
that was basically my plan.
Yeah.
Just go knock, say some scientific sounding stuff to her, and hope she's amenable. Because I mean, she's got a phenomenon in her house, right? And I think she might want to get rid of that. So we will help her, of course.
Sure thing.
Because that's what we do in Hargrave House.
Yeah. So you knock on the door. And it's much like Ardent's experience from the other day. It takes just like a bit longer for the door to be answered than you would expect from a house with a, you know, that was large enough to warrant a couple of servants. And the door is once again opened by Irma Thicket, the cook. To remind her, she's square framed, big gels, smells of onion and tobacco, and says, good evening, sir. Is there anything I can do for you? Yes. What are you expected, sir?
Good evening. My name is Dr. John Fenworth, and no, I'm not expected as such, but I would like to speak to the lady of the house, or the master of the house, and talk to them about the events that have surrounded this house and this house's reputation. I'm a scientist.
Right, well then, sir, if you'd like to step inside, and I'll go and speak to Mr. and Mrs. Beale and let them know that you are here,
Thank you.
she'll kind of hurry off, come back a few minutes later with a man. He is he's got kind of a patchy beard. He's got like a pencil in his hand that he's twirling around as he's constantly sort of fiddling with things, and he's worried about the cost of things. That's his primary motivation of things. And he says, Mrs. Thicket said you are a doctor here about the
Infestation.
Yes, indeed. Well, I suppose if you're here to help look into this, then I'd be happy to accept any help you may have to offer. There's no costs associated, are there?
Oh, no. This is purely to satisfy my scientific curiosity.
Oh, of course. Well, thank you, Doctor. That would be if there is anything you're able to do. I'm sure that would be most appreciated. This has been very strange since, ever since we moved in, really. I mean, we did get a very good deal on the house, you understand, but some of the things that have happened, well, poor that poor girl, Ginny. Yeah, well, but yes. Is there anything I can help you with? Anything you would like to see?
Oh, maybe you would give us a tour of the house and point out the places where strange things have been happening or been rumored to happen. That would be very helpful. And if I could set up a few instruments here and there to observe.
Oh, of course, instruments. That sounds most intriguing. I'm somewhat of a scientist myself, actually. I'm a mathematician, the pure science.
The basis of all others, yes. Very good. And I will throw some stuff at him that not very specific stuff, but just to gauge. Is he more of an accountant that knows calculus, or does he actually know mathematics?
He is an accountant. You'll get that, or a bookkeeper anyway, and you'll get that out of him without too much pressing. But he does his interest in mathematics does seem to go beyond just what he does for his job.
Okay. Interesting. I warm to him.
Cool. Yeah. So as he's sort of, you're talking to him, and they're like, Mr. Casebury, what are you doing? Are you just kind of waiting in the background, or is there something else you want to be up to?
I think as soon as I don't remember what was the name of the man in the house.
Mr. Beale.
Harold Beale, his first name is. I don't think I gave it, but yeah, he will have done though.
Yeah. As soon as he seems to be distracted by Dr. Fenworth, and they start talking about mathematics and science and things, I think Ardent will wander off. He looked in the I think it was the library or sitting room with the clocks that were all
That's right,
the wrong
yeah.
time, and just see, are they still the same wrong time, or if they changed.
Yeah, when you look at them, they do seem to all still be at that same wrong time, and it's like it was before. There's still the impression that the clocks are actually working, but they're still showing that same time. Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as you look away and look back again, it's
yeah.
And then he'll start looking for. I guess he'll wander upstairs and start looking for the nursery that Gretel observed previously.
Yeah, sure thing. You'll know obviously that it's in the attic of the house. You'll be able to find it without too much difficulty. When you get up to the attic, the cot is empty at the minute. The baby is obviously not here. But yes, you can you can make your way up here without any difficulty.
Yeah, and there he'll start to poke around, look at things. Not like move furniture or anything, but just look around and get a feel for the space.
Sure. Yeah, if you'd like to make me the information move with reason, please.
Sure thing. Let's see. That's 9 on the dice, so that's a 10.
10, nice. So on a 10, you will get a clue. We'll come back to that in a moment. Obviously, if you do want to upgrade with a mask, you can do, but obviously with 10, you'll get a clue, no problem. We'll come back to that in a second. I'm just going to check in with Trixie. So, Trixie, you said that you were going to. Well, you were interested in speaking to either Jenny or the man in the sun mask. Obviously, the location you have for both of them is the same. Is the opium den in Limehouse. So I think you will be you'll be able to head obviously down towards the down towards Limehouse. There is it's busier when you get to the opium den than it was before. But the time you were there before is obviously sort of during the daytime. It's in the evening. It's a lot more. I mean, lively is perhaps not quite the right word, but there's a lot more people here. And Jenny will see you as you come in, and she'll give a little smile and a nod of the head and say, Trixie, it's good to see you back again. I hope nothing is up. Thank you again for the help the other evening.
Naturally, I trust you haven't run into any more problems with disappearances and such, have you?
No, it all seems to be cleared up. Thank you very much. But what can I do for you? Would you like me to get you a pipe set up, or are you here for something else?
Well, I'd be inclined to say yes if a constable hadn't taken the last of my money back at the gardens earlier today. Speaking of, I wanted to see if you might get me in touch with that. You remember that guy in the strange mask, that hat-looking thing, a couple days back?
Yes. I believe he is here this evening. If you want to speak with him, she'll point off sort of, down the room. One of the cots down towards the back. If you would like to speak with him, and
certainly.
If he would like to speak with you, of course, she'll kind of smile.
I have a feeling he might. And so I'll take off towards this guy in the sun mask. And is he just sitting by himself in this mask, or what was he up to?
Yeah, he is currently. He is just sort of reclining on a nice. This one is more like a kind of a chaise longue kind of deal rather than just sort of like a pallet on the floor. He has a pipe that he is smoking from. Obviously, he's still wearing the mask as he was before, and he will turn his head sort of towards you as you approach, and say, "Ah, the young American, it is good to see you back again. I'd hoped our paths might cross once more." And he'll kind of, he's kind of obviously fully reclined on the chaise longue as you come in, but he kind of pulls himself up into a sort of crouched sitting position, his knees sort of up under the base of his mask, and he pats the foot of the chaise longue and says, "Do come join me."
Be a pleasure. And I'll sit next to him, but not next to him, if that makes sense. I'll be on the same piece of furniture, but with a respectful gap between the two of us.
Sure thing. And I think we'll just jump in there to get the next unseen. And this one actually is for you, David. So describe Act 2, in which Daniel impotently fights back against the forces that prevent him from being with Dahlia.
So I kind of like to think that Act 1 maybe ended on a high note in which Dahlia actually kind of fell in love with him too. And it's like, oh, things are going well. And Act 2 is where it all just goes to pieces, because he's a humble baker's son and has no money. And if we're trying to play up the class divide in London society as a part of this game, I think it makes perfect sense for her to have been whisked away by some middle to upper middle class snobby aristocrat, the kind of person that Trixie herself was almost kind of groomed into being. And so she wants to be with him, but parents are saying, no, you stay away from him. And I think there's a dramatic scene kind of at the climax of Act 2 in which he tries to make sort of this dramatic, melodramatic, romantic elopement with her, but they are kind of caught at the last minute. And he is basically imprisoned, or at least jailed, or is supposed to be jailed. Maybe he gets away, but he's made out to be a kidnapper and is about to have all of his wealth and status that he even, what little he has, stripped away from him. And the girl is about to be taken off to go marry this other guy. And that's kind of the cliffhanger that Act 2 ends on.
Awesome, thank you. So I will come back to Ardent quickly. Ardent, as you are looking around in the attic, you will see there's a sort of mirror hung up here with just on one wall. Not a big mirror, but just something to kind of brighten the room a little bit. When you look at it, the mirror cracks, and it cracks almost like lace, like a spider web across the surface of it. It still kind of holds together, but the cracks are fairly prevalent all the way through it.
Yeah, I was thinking about whether I should use a mask, but then I realized that my next mask of the past, that's kind of what I told Dr. Fenworth when he asked me. Um, so I'm not sure, but I don't think I want to mark a mask
No,
for this. I'm happy with a 10.
No, that's perfectly fine. So yeah, how do you react to this mirror cracking? Is there anything you want to do?
I think Ardent he's not, he doesn't react outwardly, but inwardly he's definitely he becomes fully alert and wary, I guess. He's not frightened because he spends all his time around supernatural things. But this is still a sign. This is a sign that something is happening or about to happen. So he looks at the mirror. He looks around to see what else is going on and tries to, I guess, determine if there is a hostile presence or that sort of thing. That's his instinct.
Sure thing, sure thing. So do you think that this is you're going to be activating the rites of salt and smoke for this, or is this more, do you think, another information move?
Let me look. I don't think this is a situation where he wants to do like a full-on ritual.
Sure.
If for no other reason that it might get them kicked out of the house and have a difficult time returning. So yeah, the information move seems more appropriate.
Sure thing. And oh yeah, so that will be with sensitivity.
Yeah. See. That's a 6, and there's a 1 off in the corner. I can't pull this in the right direction. Just move the die. There.
Cool.
So that's 9 with my 2 sensitivity.
Sure thing. So I think as you start to feel out for the as you start to feel out for the you know, to see if there's anything around, there's a sudden shift in the room. The room gets hot and starts to flames start to lick up the wall. It, like I said, it feels hot, and the flames seem to sort of consume this room, and then just fade away again as if they were never there. However, you will feel just a on your one of your hands, you've just developed a small burn on it, as if it had been, you know, just as if you'd like put it against a hot pan or something like that. But so if you would take the condition burnt, and yeah, the clue you've received is a room seeming to be on fire when it isn't. Cool. And Dr. Fenworth, you get through the sort of pleasantries and the background discussion with Harold Beale. What would you like to do next, sort of thing?
As I said, I imagine that I do have some instruments that will allow me at least to take some sort of readings of temperature, basically. That's a good point, just to check temperature stuff. I also have alchemical books in German for whatever reason, but that is not something that is not yet useful. But but it is. I will set out certain chemicals that are sensitive to changes in the ambient electricity in the room. That will certainly allow me to catch a ghost, if there is one, if there is an entity, as I've surmised, that the ghost might just be the electrical impulses that were left in the brain after the body died, and that got kind of transferred into the ambient electrical field that surrounds things. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that sounds good. So yeah, if you would like to make me a sorry, I'll ask which is there a particular room you want to focus this on?
No, not particularly.
Yeah, no,
I don't
that's
think.
fine.
I think the room, whichever room Mr. Beale thinks or points out to me that they have the most, or that I at least, the room where Jenny died, of course. That seems reasonable.
Yeah, sure thing. So I think the room where Jenny died will, I think, be the down in the basement, which is where the kitchen is, as well as the servants' quarters.
Interesting.
So I'm going to
very interesting.
Ask a quick paint the scene question here for everyone. So what evidence do you see that shows how historically the servants of 18 St. James's Street have protected themselves from the ghost? And I'm going to start with yourself, David, if that's okay.
So it's how have the residents of St. James Street
the servants in particular, but yeah, that's right.
Okay. Trying to think of what repels ghosts. Crosses, that's more of a vampiric thing. Mirrors, maybe. Maybe a small mirror around one's neck, the sort of thing that you might normally look at if you were just, looking in kind of a pocket mirror, but it's something that they kind of have in their pockets at all times, or around their neck, but it's kind of made up to look more like a locket than a mirror, or something along those lines, perhaps.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Sort of little, just little sort of mirror charm sort of things almost. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, the mirror cracked also earlier, so there's kind of a parallel too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. Thank you. And Dr. Fenworth, what's another sign of this sort of protective ritual that you see?
I think there, because when ghosts around gets cold, right? That is common knowledge. There are a lot of little ovens in all the rooms. Like you wouldn't usually put them in because that's kind of a luxury. But even the smallest room has even a little kind of roughshod little oven in there. And they are not hidden somewhere behind a paravent or a curtain or something. No, they're pretty prominent, because if you stand close to an oven, the ghost can't possess you because it wouldn't be cold enough. Right? That makes sense.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. And Ardent, what's another little thing we see that shows the servants have been protecting themselves against the ghost?
I think there is some sort of plant, some sort of herb or something that's said to repel ghosts, and there are like little vases with this herb in it, and I think, and this may not be immediately visible, but in like the door frames, they've made like little pockets or where there's cracks between the door frame and the wall. They've stuffed in these herbs to prevent the ghost from passing through the doorway or something like that.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, Dr. Fenworth, if you would like to make the information move with, and if you're marking off the alchemical tomes, and you can roll that with advantage.
I will roll that with advantage. And I will roll that with reason, right? Just
oh yeah, sorry, with reason. Yeah, because you're being scientific.
Considering what I rolled, it's fairly important, but because I rolled a 12, so it's a 14.
Very nice, excellent. So
yeah,
you will as you're sort of conducting these experiments, what you will find is so the above some of the sort of powders and the like, and that you've put out, there will be kind of a reaction to the to a change in temperature or similar, and then like almost like a smoke rises up from these from one of these sort of these chemicals you've used, and the smoke, as the smoke kind of touches the wallpaper, it leaves an impression in there, and you can clearly see a series of numbers written in this like soot almost on the wall. The other thing that you find as you are looking around in here, there's obviously the room that used to be there's the room that used to be Ginny's. There's another room that you presume belongs to Mrs. Thicket, and there's the kitchen. There's also another much smaller room. It's a kind of storage room, or there's a couple of storage rooms, probably like a pantry and the like, but this one seems to be that a kind of room that's just like junk and maybe not junk, but you know, it's not like cleaning supplies and stuff like that. It's just where they put the, you know, stuff they're not using currently or whatever else. And in here, there's just a little chest that you probably open almost up without really even thinking about it, just as you're looking around. And inside the chest, you will find a set of black robes and a sort of almost Venetian style mask in the shape of a falcon's head, you know, sort of falcon's face with the sort of beak coming out the front. It's covered in like it's sort of black and gilt covered.
So is Harold still with me?
No, he's probably not kind of come down here when you found this. I think he's gone about his business upstairs.
They're not using this, right? And this looks very fine. I mean, it's not part of a body robe, but still, my child will be cold without one. I realize now. So it just might end up in my bag because I've used my supplies in their space, and these people are clearly not using this.
Sure thing. Excellent. Thank you. So I'm going to check in with. Sorry, it's back to you, Sabine, again. Sorry, for the I've not come to these in the right order. Well, not the right order, but in the right timing today. So yes, Sabine, if you would like to describe Act 3 of the play, in which Daniel engages in a desperate action to get what he wants. The final moment just before the curtain falls should be very bloody.
Oh, it will be. Well, see, this is when the scene opens with Daniel standing very abject, apologizing to everybody he's supposedly wrong, and his father is standing behind him, and it's pretty clear that his father is kind of making him do that. And Daniel is inviting everybody to the bakery, or has done that to apologize and make good of what he did, make up for all these mistakes that he made. And people gather around, and they are rather enchanted because it's a bakery. There are some pastries there for people to eat, and and while they eat, the first one will drop because these pastries are poison, right? They're glass baked into it and other stuff, because as Daniel's father tells them, you made my son eat all the fucking shit. Well, he's not more polite. All the fucking shit that you give off, all the stuff you throw out, you threw at my son. Now you can eat it. Now you've eaten that. And now you will die, and your intestines will be shredded. And of course, people will then die very dramatically. And some of them will not be happy because they have weapons, right? But a baker also has weapons. You need a very sharp knives to cut the carrots for carrot cake and stuff like that. So there will be fights, and people will end up in the oven. Oh, they will, because the oven is burning. And in the end, of course, there will be a fight between Daniel and the person who wants to marry Dahlia, and Dahlia's in the middle of them, and they're both pushing her around, and of course she ends up in the oven as well and screams and everything, and Dahlia pulls her out, and she's burning, and then he's burning, and everything is burning, the stage is burning, and people are dying from the poison. And everything deteriorates into absolute mayhem and tragedy.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So, Trixie, the man in the sun mask will not turn to you, but will say, you have seen much since last we spoke, have you not?
More than some, less than others.
And what brings you back to me?
Well, truth be told, your intuitions about the supernatural seem to have some credibility about them. Now, I suspect you already know a little bit more than you let on between you and me, but you might be aware that there's something stalking the fairgrounds down at Craymore and Gardens. My question for you is, if this thing is in fact real, what's keeping it down at the fair? Why would this thing only go after Craymore and Gardens? There's lots of aquatic sitting ducks. If not off the river, then at least off the sea. Just take a look at that prison hulk down there. They got nothing but sitting ducks on that thing, and far as I know, not one of them's been assassinated. So what's going on with these gardens specifically? Is there something about them? Someone who's got some interest in them? You seem to know a thing or two about things that aren't necessarily of this world, and well, if that's what we're up against, I think you'd know about it. And if that's not what we're up against, well, I think you'd know about that too.
Cool. So yeah, I'm going to ask you to make an information move with presence, please, and we'll see how this plays out from there.
Oh boy. So this is a +1. That's a 7 exactly.
Cool. What happens at Cremon Gardens is honestly of little interest to me, all told. But what I can tell you is I have dreamt recently of a girl. I never see the girl, but I hear her song. It is strange, and I have heard some strange things in my time. And this song may be linked to your monster, if in truth there is such a thing. This, you know, of course, of the stories of the sirens, how they lured men to dash them on the rocks. Perhaps that is what my dream is trying to tell me. Or perhaps, and he'll take sort of a long drag on the pipe and blow out a smoke ring. It is just telling me that I need to visit the music hall and take in a show.
Hard to tell whether you're talking real things or pipe dreams, mister. But you haven't led me astray just yet.
Oh,
keep that in mind. Music hall, huh?
I should like that very much. My young one, I shall hopefully have the opportunity to lead you very far astray one day, but I do not think today is that day.
That makes 2 of us. And I'll stand up and give him a polite tip of the hat, but not a single smile, and head out into the stinking night. And I'll have some thinking to do about whether I want to investigate the siren song down at the gardens at night, or if this music hall business might be a little bit more productive.
Awesome. And I think that is where we will leave the night scene for tonight. We will wrap up with the dawn phase quickly, just to get us set up for next time. We are in the dawn. We collect rewards if a threat was resolved. It was not, so we don't. Though, you know, we're making definite progress. We will answer the dawn questions. So I'll go through. First off, the ones that apply to everyone. Did the hunters answer a question? Not in this round of things. Did the hunters resolve a threat? Not in this cycle. Trixie, did you experience an echo in the night?
I always have to ask whether or not the things I do count.
No worries, no, that's fine. So how we learn.
But I mean, I made a reference to the prison Hulk and said, why aren't they getting attacked? Because they're a bunch of sitting ducks in the water. So there was that, I suppose. But other than that, I don't know that I made much reference to anything else.
Yeah, no, that's and yeah, so it is specifically kind of the unseen for this night for the echoes.
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine to tell.
Okay.
Thank you.
So to clarify, it's got to be a reference to the most recent unseen.
That's it. Yeah, that's
okay.
it.
That's good to know. Cool.
No, there's no worries. Did you share a treasured memory from the States during an intimate moment with another character?
I think so. I was talking to Dr. Fenworth about the Cascade Rapids back in Oregon.
Absolutely, yeah. That sounds right to me. And did you stick out in London society for all the wrong reasons?
Did getting shaken down and harassed by a constable in the middle of the American saloon?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely fair. Yep. I think it definitely felt like you were playing up to that. So that's awesome. Thank you. Dr. Fenworth, did you experience an echo in the night?
I mean, I had a lot of ovens in the servant quarters, and also there was a lot of fire in the end, and there was fire before in Ardent's clue. So I think I did. Yeah.
No, that sounds good. Thank you.
Fire.
Did you have a conversation with a child while no one was looking?
Yeah, that was last time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you did last time, didn't you? Yep.
Yeah.
And did you put your hands in a pile of guts and love every moment of it?
That sailor with the pearl in him? Oh, yeah, I did.
Absolutely. Cool. That's cool. Yep. And Ardent, did you experience an echo in the night?
I don't know. I try to the thing with the herbs and the baker. It's kind of weak sauce, but
no. I thought that was cool. Yeah, no, that was that worked for me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Did you counsel someone using your supernatural affinities as the basis for that advice?
Maybe the discussion I had with Dr. Fenworth about the nature of spirits.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah. And did you make love to a dark entity because it felt good?
I sure did.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Perfect. Cool. So yeah, obviously record any XP that you've earned from answering those questions. And you may choose new ones for next time if you want. I don't think we have anything to resolve during the dawn phase. We don't have any outstanding Janus Mask prompts. So that is where we will leave things for our session this evening. So I will stop our recording here.